morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning. And how do you do? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning. And God loves you. Ooh. That's right. And Weena B, cuckoo for Cocoa Pops. But God said, don't matter who you are, what you are, but I know whose you are. So rise and save one more just for today. He woke you up this morning, obviously, woke me up this morning so that we can rejoice and be glad in this day. So with that, we should give him honor, praise, and glory. All right. So you know that you are here for the AA Daily Reflections reading from Alcoholics Anonymous from Edwina B's perspective. But you also know that I gave a little bit more time for just Edwina to share my journey of recovery of 32 years with you. That includes my mother, who prayed for me and her 5 other siblings, but she prayed the hardest for this one. And I got a song that would tell you why. Also to share a entry of my book that I journaled for the first 4 years in my recovery, and also to share with you my presentation back in February of 2020 when I had 30 years of my Free to Hope 12-step recovery information session for everybody to learn how the 12 spiritual benefits, the 12 steps. Let me slow down. The 12 spiritual steps can help any and all human beings, okay? And so February the 23rd, I celebrated 32 years. My mother's birthday is March the 23rd, and she is deceased. However, she is with me all the time, all the time, all the time, in spirit. And so for the month of March, she celebrated her birthday from March the 1st to March the 31st. So therefore, I dedicate this whole month to the memory of my mother, Helen Jones Hall Lamar Taylor. I got that wrong. Helen Lamar Jones Hall Taylor, right? And I've been sharing a little bit about her story as well. So let's get to the song for today. And where's Mama? Come on, Mama, where you at? Oh, I got to find her. Okay, so this is the song that I'm dedicating to my mother. And she describes me a little bit in this song, okay? A mama knows her child, okay? And so, and I like the variety of music because they all tell a story. All right, this is the song I selected for today. And it's entitled, Ride the Lightning, Mama Knows Me Best. Okay, by Warren Zeters. All right, let's go. Listen to the words.
Mama always said I was born on the wild side. One foot in the flames and the other trying to walk the line. Can't say I never saw it coming, I can see the warning signs. Mama always said I was born on the wild side. I guess Mama was right. 'Cause when the clock strikes midnight, I'm gonna ride the lightning, feel the thunder, till the darkness pulls me under. Gonna fly on wings of fire, breathing good, Lord lifts me higher, singing oh when they call me on, singing oh when they call me on. Gonna ride the lightning. There's a man in a black coat standing at a crossroads with a pen in his hand and a long list of lost souls. They say flips are gone, forge and a fool's gold. There's a man in a black coat standing at a crossroads. I hope he lets me pass by. When I close my eyes, I'm gonna ride the lightning, feel the thunder, till the darkness pulls me under. Gonna fly on wings of fire, breathing good Lord lifts me higher, singing oh when they call me on, singing oh when they call me on. I'm gonna ride the lightning, ride the lightning, ride the lightning.
Woo!
I'm gonna ride the lightning, feel the thunder, till the darkness pulls me under. Gonna fly on wings of fire, breathing good Lord lifts me higher, singing oh when they call me on, singing oh when they call me on. Gonna ride the lightning.
I tell you, gonna ride the lightning. Oh my God. See, that song says, Mama knew I was on the wild side, right? And I tell you, my mother, bless her heart, she would always say, Edwina, I'm so glad I only had one of you. I'm so glad I only had one of you. Mama saw in me early on the spirit within. And she said, out of all her children, there's something about that Edwina, right? Maybe it's because, and sharing a little bit of her story, I was the third child, but being the third child, right after me, 10 months, a year in a row, she had my sister 10 months after me, and she had my oldest brother 10 months after her. And she had my baby brother 1 year after him. So by Deborah, who I will share a little bit more this morning, and me, there were 3 years apart. And then after me, so from what my mother said about me, I started walking when I was 9 months old. I guess trying to get away from the one that's coming after me, and the one that's coming after her, and the one that's coming after him. And so my mother knew early on that is something about that Edwina. She's okay. So let's give you some more history about my mother. And I shared by the time she was 15, she had my older sister, Ruby Amira Hall Wells, and that my dad was in the service at now 17, and he was not home as frequently as he was later. And it was during that time that something happened with my mother and her given, I believe, father, right? Thomas Lamar impregnated my mother, and it was a secret. And so Deborah Jean Hall was born on April the 28th, 1953. So she's 2 years older than me, all right? And so as a result of Deborah being born, and my mother still a young mother, but with Granny, her given mother, and her grandmother, Grandma Carrie, and so they helped to raise Ruby and Deborah while my dad was back and forth in the Army. Now, it's interesting to know that as a young mother, my mother was given a challenge with Deborah, because Deborah, from what my mother told me, was a sickly child, and she had some issues, and that That's one thing about families. You know, if you don't get some things checked out, some blood work done or whatever, some things can go grossly wrong if you're not aware of what's in the genes or DNA of other people. So my mother had to deal with Ruby, the oldest, and then 2 years later with Deborah, a sickly child. And during that time, until I came along, they did the best they could, and obviously they did a great job. However, I could only imagine about that secret and what they were holding, what they were concealing. See, by doing my inventory, I can imagine that my father, who's in the army, wasn't there during those times when she possibly got pregnant. Wonder what happened. And so down in the South, or really all around the world, but particularly down in the South, some things took place that they decided to keep it a secret. But some people who got common sense, and some people who know, I know something went down, right? My father, for instance, right? And so it's amazing how years later those secrets come out. And so as a result of my mother being pregnant, right, at 17 with 2 children, and when my father did come back from the service, I can't tell you exactly what the dynamics was about Deborah Jean and that conversation and who all was involved and what it was like. But in reviewing the history of that situation, I could see that my father had plans of revenge, plans of retaliation. He had anger, he had resentment, and he started planning. He had a changed attitude about my mother, her mother, and her father, who were all not biological, and neither was his parents biological. But there was a change. There was a change that paved the course of what was to happen from then up until he transitioned. So I can just say that my mom promised not to give any of her children away, and she didn't. And so with the 3, Grandma Carrie, and my mother Helen, they did what they could for Deborah Jean and Ruby Almira. Okay, so that's enough of that until tomorrow, because I will share with you how that seed began to perpetuate, not in a positive way, but in a negative way. But we all know that all things work for good for those who love the Lord. All right. So now I want to give you a piece of my journal. All right. And look, y'all, this was my first modeling assignment in recovery. See, this is my first modeling assignment in recovery. I've always wanted to be a model. So in early recovery, I got to be a model with Sue Swinick. All right. So let me read you my entry of my journal that I kept the first 4 years in recovery as it was written, right? It was suggested that I keep a journal of my feelings, my thoughts, my fears, my behaviors, and my thinking as I transition from that world into the world of recovery from underneath that parked car 32 years ago on February the 22nd of 1990. But on February the 23rd of 1990, I rose with the power within to be set on a pathway to recovery and be prepared for things yet to come, even modeling. All right. So this is May the 18th of 1990. Okay. It says here, waking up and giving gratitude to my God always start my day. And reflecting on yesterday was a rewarding experience. I felt pretty good and not trying to anticipate any discomfort. I reflected back on feelings of not wanting to use and how situations can be a challenge as far as running with things. I felt proud of myself in the way my higher power and the fellowship and sponsor and counselor has been able to restore faith in me and learning how to get through situations and not wanting or desiring to use. I was able to focus on recreation activities and enjoy preparing myself for modeling tonight at Ladies' Night. I get a real sense of self esteem when doing this for me. I somehow wanted to share this joy with Paul and decided to call him. Boy, was that a mistake. The whole conversation could have been a big trigger for me. And if I haven't learned by now, I never will. I just decided to stop calling on a regular basis and just call maybe twice a week to say, I love you, and just a mere hi. I got a feeling that I'm going to prepare myself from depending on him because if I get on my feet the right way, I won't need to depend on him financially. And it scares me that I won't need him as much as I thought I did. So mentally, I'm going to prepare myself for independence. The show went well, and I was surprised to see my counselor in the audience. And the praise I got from her was rewarding and uplifting. She even said I had a professional aura about me, which felt damn good to hear. And to top it off, I actually got to see myself videoed. I was great. Boy, God's good. May the 18th of 1990, I wrote that. Isn't it amazing how when we reflect back on something that we wrote or a picture, even a video, that we can see where our mindset was, where our emotions and feelings and attitudes, ideas, and behaviors were, and the situation, circumstances during that time, and to reflect back 32 years later, oh my God. So you see in my journal, there were a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But that's the importance of keeping a journal. Being able to express where you are in any and all given situations. Not all bad and not all good. But at the end of the day, boy, I tell you, through it all, I did not drink. I did not use. Why? Because I used the 12 spiritual principles, only being in recovery for 5 months. But when God removed that obsession and compulsion underneath that park car and set me on a pathway to recovery, what? I had a made up mind. I just needed to render my self will to God. And that's going to be our topic today with the AA spiritual principles of Alcoholics Anonymous. All right. So let me give you a little bit of a review of my presentation from February 2020 when I started my Free to Hope World Tour. Free from recovery, emerge empowered to give hope to others, help others prosper equally. All right. So this is where we're going to enter recovery principle number 7. Humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings after we became entirely ready. And step 6, to have God remove all these defects of character. And that was preceded by step 5, where we got to the exact nature of all our wrongs, right? And then that was preceded by taking that inventory in step 4. And that was preceded by making a decision to turn our will over to the care of God as we understand him. That was preceded by step 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity or soundness of mind. But none of that would have happened if it was not preceded 100% by the first step. Admitted that we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. So engage and listen. Oh, Lord, I love you. I tell you. Here we go. Here we go.
Which is now used to the extreme. And then it's a character defect. Do I want it totally removed?
He's talking about anger. Is anger a character defect? And does he want it removed?
What's the answer?
Tell me what you want. The answer is in you. What do you want?
I would rather have it balanced.
Balance.
Yes.
Our creator got angry, didn't he?
Yes, it did.
Huh?
Yeah.
Balance is the key word. You don't want it to far exceed its intended purpose. Sometimes anger is a method of survival. Huh? It's learning how to respond and not react. And that 12 and that inventory is going to help identify why you're so angry. So yes, you creating balance, and because it's a human emotion. But if it far exceeds its intended purpose, then it's defected. And that's all we're asking him to remove, that part which is defected. Okay? Let's move on. Now, suppose, what's your name, sir?
I'm Joseph.
Joseph. Suppose your anger. You work these 12 recovery principles. You got your anger under control a little bit. And then somehow, some way, I don't know, you woke up on the wrong side of bed, your stomach hurt, whatever, and you went from 0 to 90. And that anger came shooting out. But you thought you had it what? Under control. So you're going to get some life experiences that are going to challenge you, to see where you really are. And guess what? We have a recovery principle for that too. So when that happens, we use this principle. Humbly ask him to remove where I fell short in that anger. That makes sense? Does that make sense? Yeah. That you're asking him that I'm not over jealousy 100%. So when I found myself getting jealous, help me to remove that. Help me put into perspective before it takes over me. Help me. You're asking that power greater than you to help you. And if you're receptive, if you're open, if you're willing, you'll get the help that you need. Sometimes right in the midst of. You remember that recovery principle. Okay? Now, principle number 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. So, let's think about it. When you were suffering from drug addiction, alcoholism, cancer, domestic violence, rape, molestation, whatever, while you were in your stuff, did you hurt anybody? Did you say some wicked things to people? Did you disregard people? Did you treat some people bad? Did you ignore some people? Did you blame some people? What's the answer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Even though you hurt yourself, but people are around you. You have caused harm to people. People with addiction. I robbed my mom of my sleep. I robbed my children of nurturing and caring. I stole from my job. I lied to the IRS. I hurt people because I was in my stuff. So if I want to be totally free and empowered, I need to list those persons I had harmed. Not only list them, what was the cause? How did I hurt them? Did I steal his TV? So the best way to make an amends is to do what?
Apologize.
No.
Confess.
No. Give him his TV back. Or buy him another one. That's what's going to make that amends. Suppose he's dead.
Yeah, suppose.
You buy that TV for somebody else and give it to them. Suppose you broke somebody's fence, right? You help them mend that fence back together. Suppose in our addiction, like I did, I messed with married men. Huh? Am I going to go back to that woman and tell her I'm out? No, I'm not. Because that might cause more harm.
Right.
So how can I make that amends? By stop doing it. Go ahead, my boy.
Don't do it anymore.
Don't do it anymore. So you can make direct amends and you can make indirect amends, but you're making the amends. You are freeing yourself. Do you understand? You're freeing yourself. The mere fact that you are in recovery and getting these recovery principles said, I want to make amends to me. I want to heal. I want to make amends to me. Because when you learn to make amends to yourself, you can learn to make amends to other people. Do you hear me? When you stop lying to yourself, you stop lying to other people. When you're honest with yourself, you can start practicing being honest to other people. Do you hear me? It starts with self. But you are being empowered and given something to give to somebody else. Just like on the other side, all that negative stuff you got, they gave it to you, didn't you? How many of us said, I'll never be like my dad or my mom, and mom to being like your dad and your mom? Huh? Being in recovery right now can help you break the cycle. I don't care if you're 17 or 97. What I couldn't do for my children, I now do for my grandchildren. Because I got better. But I made that list of those who I had harmed, and I became willing to make amends to them all. It's freeing. You don't want to walk down the street looking over your shoulder. Am I going to run into John? Am I going to run into Mary? You want to walk across the street? You're running. You're not facing. You really don't want to give anything or anybody that much power ever again to make us go back to that life that we left. Do you hear me? No power, no situation, no person should be given that power ever again. But the only way you can do it is applying these 12 recovery principles. Because you're freeing yourself to be empowered. Huh? Okay.
Question.
Yes.
How do you make amends to children? I heard you say you do for the grand that you couldn't do for the children. How do you make amends with the children who are still angry, bitter, even though you're recovering? Angry, bitter.
I got you.
Yeah, holding stuff.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. After a while, because we're human, and this thing is called a process. Initially, we're going to feel that guilt. We're going to feel that burden. We're going to feel responsible. Yes, right? But the longer we apply and stay in this recovery principle modality, we will realize that now I am leading by example. That I can't go back and fix that, but I can become that role model now. You have every right to feel that way. You have every right to feel that way. I felt that way with my parents, and look where it led me. But look where I am now, and guess what? What I needed to recover, you'll need to. But all I can do is lead by example. Yes. You don't want nobody to hold you hostage. Even though rightfully so, even though you did what you... Let me tell y'all something. I almost sold my daughter for drugs and my addiction. My children today still are wounded. Educated, my son's a doctor, my daughter has her own company, whatever. They are yet wounded in other areas of their life. I'm the one in recovery. They've been exposed to recovery. We've been to counseling. We wrote letters. I did all I could do. But I'm not going to let you continue to hold me hostage.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
I'm going to do what my mom did for me. Pray for you and let you go.
Amen.
so that you can find your own way.
That's right.
I'm not giving you, them, her, no more power to make me go back to their life
That's
again.
right.
Blame me all you want. But I'm in recovery. I'm leading by example. I'm applying these principles. I'm getting better. And I say that the opportunity is there for you too. And do it with love and a smile. And keep it moving. All right? Okay, all right. What did y'all think about that, huh? What did y'all think about that? All right, let me put this back over here, okay? And let's talk about that, huh? Did you hear it, huh? I'm setting up my Instagram over here, right? Huh? I was like, who that? Oh my God! It just shows you how God prepares you for things yet to come. Do you hear me? Do you hear what the truth was? What the truth is? When you tell the truth, it's the same. Oh my God! Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Oh, and listen, I tell you, listen, I can't wait till God give me another 32 years, but I'm going to just take the day. But I thank God for allowing me to share that with you. And I will continue to share it with you as we continue the month of March. But right now we need to go to Alcoholics Anonymous Daily Reflections for March the 9th. Yes. I do not represent Alcoholics Anonymous. That's been in existence for close to 90 years. But I've been a proud, humble, and grateful practicing member for 32 plus years. Now you see why I go to my meetings every day. If I shared that back in 2020, I wrote what I wrote in 1990. I'm sharing what I'm sharing with you today in 2022. See? Oh my God, it's all about progress, not perfection. And so the key to today's topic in daily reflection is surrendering self-will. And as you heard during my presentation and my journal entry, once I applied these spiritual principles in all my affairs, practicing one day at a time, revealing what I've been trying to conceal for so many years, right? Willing to open up this trash can and go through it with a magnifying glass, right? And seeing how my self-will. I told you my mama said, that Edwina something. She is self-willing. She is bodacious. She is corrupt. She is daring. She's lightning. Woo, she saw something in me early on that manifested itself in such a way that was spiritually profound. Yes. When the Creator plants that spirit in this vessel or whatever vessel, it's the spirit that counts, not the vehicle. But the spirit needs that vehicle to use, right? And so, listen, this journey has been awesome. So I love me today. I accept me today. I like me today. I'm proud of me today. But it all goes to the glory of my God, who I found in the spiritual program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And so underneath that park card 32 plus years ago, I surrendered all. So let's go to the reading. All right. Okay, so the reading says, and y'all know I decipher the words, okay? Let's read it together. AA Daily Reflection, surrendering self-will. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 34. And the Alcoholic in Recovery writes, no matter how much one wishes to try, exactly how can one turn his own will and his own life over to the care of whatever God he thinks there is? In my search for the answer to this question, I became aware of the wisdom with which it was written, that this is a two-part step. I could see many times where I should have died or at least been injured during my previous style of living, and it never happened. Someone or something was looking after me. I choose to believe my life has always been in God's care. He alone controls the number of days I will be granted until physical death. The matter of self-will, self-will or God's will is the more difficult part of the step for me, right? It is only when, right? Let's get it. It is only when, where are you? It is only when I have experienced enough emotional pain, through failed attempts to fix myself, that I become willing to surrender to God's will for my life. Surrender is like the calm after the storm. When my will is in line with God's will for me, there is peace within. Oh my God. Let's do this thing. All right. So, surrendering self-will. How can we get in touch with surrendering self-will? Now, the Spirit just gave me something automatically, right? I thought I could swim. I jump in the pool. I realized I can't swim. Help! 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 Surrendering my self-will. That's one example. Surrendering self-will. I want to go to that dance. I want to go to that dance. My mother said not to go to the dance, but I want to go to that dance. I leave the house and go to that dance. I come back, go to open the door, and the door is locked. You get my drift? Surrendering self-will. Now, what are some of your examples, okay? So let's get through it. I'm only going to give a few things today because there's a lot to cover. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. Now, this is the month of March, and this is the third step. So we talked about making that decision, right? Made a decision to turn our life and our will over to the care of God as we understood him, right? I shared with y'all, we make decisions all day long. I will, I won't, I can or I can't. I'm going to go, I'm not going to go. You make decisions all day long. So when we come into recovery from our alcoholism, drug addiction, prostitution, overeating, whatever affected you that you became powerless over, that made your life unmanageable, right? I needed to be restored to sanity, soundness of mind by a power or powers greater than me. So I'm surrendering my will to a power or powers greater than me in the second step. So once I see that power or powers are greater than me and it's helping me to be restored to sanity, soundness of mind, why not in the third step why wouldn't I want to make a decision to turn my will and my life over to that power or powers greater than me? I did it during my addiction. I did it when I was a teenager. Oh, I was one self-willing individual. Ask my mama. Oh, you can't answer now, but I'm letting you know, right? Made a decision to do what I wanted, when I wanted, and guess what? I got what I got. And so here in recovery, though, we recognize that we don't want to go back to drinking. We don't want to go back to using. We don't want to drink over emotional feelings or pain, right? We don't want to give anything or anybody that much power to take us back where God brought us from, whoever you think your God is or isn't, but it's a power greater than you. Okay, so we're making a decision to turn our lives and our will over to the care of. That's the key word. Over to the care of, not the destruction of, but the care of the God as we understood him. All right, so let's continue. I tell you, boy, I just love this stuff. So now it says, now this is the alcoholic in recovery, and this is what he writes, right? No matter how much one wishes to try, exactly how can one turn his will and his life over to the care of whatever God he thinks there is? Can you think of a tangible experience that you can relate this sentence to? I can. All right. So listen. No matter how much one wishes to try, exactly how can one turn his will and his life over to the care of God, whoever he thinks he is? Okay, so this is what came to mind. Thank you, Holy Spirit. All right, I'm going out to driver's lesson, and I got my mother over here, right? And she's in the passenger seat. So she gives me the opportunity to learn how to drive a car, right? So she's giving me instructions and whatnot, right? And she's my mother. She is a power greater than me, right? So as I'm driving, I get cocky. I get prideful. I get like, oh, I know what I'm doing. And then I start making mistakes. Now, my mother, who is a power greater than me, is not going to allow me to make any more mistakes, right? So she's going to say, put on the brakes, put it in park, and give me the keys. So I'm turning my will and my life over to the care of my mother, right? So what example can you use, okay? The next sentence says, in my search for the answer to this question, I became aware of the wisdom with which it was written, that this is a two-part step, right? It says we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. So let's see what it says. I could see many times where I should have died or at least been injured during my previous style of living, and it never happened. It never happened. Oh my God, I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry. I should have been dead. I could have been dead. Ooh, I could have been dead, y'all. I could have been dead. In an abandoned house in Fairmount Park, in the back of an alley, in the park at 30th and Lehigh, right? Running behind the bushes. I could have been dead. Oh, I could have been dead. I could have been dead. When the drug dealers broke into the house, I got underneath a pile of clothes in the car, and the guy brought that sword out and said, who's ever in here, you better come out because you're getting ready to die. When the guy shot the girl next to me and not me, I could have died. Oh my God, I could have died. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, but it never happened. It never happened. Someone or something was looking after me. I told you I had a praying mother. I told you I had a praying mother, right? Oh my God. None of her 6 children went through what I went through. She said, Edwina, I told you you were something. I got to pray real hard for you. My mother's prayers. Oftentimes she would say, devil, I didn't carry her 9 months for you to take her out like that. But I had a higher calling. My mother had a higher calling, and she had to ask God to intervene. So something, yes, was there the whole time. And now I know who it was and is. But my mother definitely was an intercessor of that. Okay. And so it then said, I someone or something was looking after me. I choose to believe my life has always been in God's care, right? It says, I choose to believe. Remember, I told y'all as a child, I had a yearning to find out what was going on. Why is my dad beating my mom? Why is my dad cheating with all these women? Why? What's going on, God? I don't even know you, but what's going on? I don't know. I had a yearning. And through my life experiences, yes, I finally learned. And now I see, I choose to believe my life has always been in God's care. He alone controls the number of days I will be granted until physical death. He alone. When I had that abortion as a prostitute, knowing who the father was, but was too ashamed to acknowledge him. And the guy said, are you pregnant? Because I said, He said, yeah, because I got the symptoms. I said, not wanting to face the public, I took life. And it's amazing how the guilt and shame can eat you up when you do things like that. I said, then whatever happens to me doing this thing, I deserve it. I deserve to die. I deserve to be killed. I deserve it because I took life. I'm telling y'all, it wasn't until recovery that God revealed to me, boo-boo, you ain't got that power. You may have removed the vessel, but you can't remove the spirit. And so he alone controls the number of days I will be granted until physical death. The matter of will, self-will, or God's will is the more difficult part of the step for me. Now, that may have been true in the beginning, but it definitely ain't the truth now. But it is a process to get to that point, right? Because self-will said, don't you know who I am? Don't you? My dad said, no, it's all about you. Yeah, but I could not get myself from under that parked car. My dad couldn't do it. My mom couldn't do it. But God could and would if he were. So when I said, help me. And he did. So yes. I know that it is only when I have experienced, it says the matter of self-will, self-will or God's will is the more difficult part of this step for me. That is no longer the case. It goes on to say it is only when I have experienced enough emotional pain through failed attempts to fix myself that I become willing to surrender to God's will for my life. Now you see why that inventory is so important. Now you see why acknowledging our liabilities and our assets are important. Now you see why we need to admit to God and to another human being the exact natures of our wrong. Now you see why we need to become entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. And you see why when I fall short of any of those defects, I humbly ask him to remove my shortcomings. And you see, by me making a list of all those persons I have harmed, starting with myself, I become willing to make amends to them all. Now you see, huh? And so it ends by saying, surrender is like the calm after the storm. Surrender is like the calm after the storm. Surrender to thy own self be true. When you tell yourself the truth, when you accept the truth, about yourself and others, when you use that serenity prayer, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the willingness and the wisdom to know the difference. And that applies to people. God grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the person that I can, and the wisdom to know that that person is me. Do you see the amount of peace, tranquility, joy, happiness I have in my life today? which is why I'm able to sit before you as cuckoo for Cocoa Pops as I am. Oh God, I love you so much. All right, I gotta go, y'all. Oh, I gotta go. All right, and so the last thing it says here, when my will is in line with God's will for me, there is peace within. There is peace within. So, surrendering self-will, I surrender all. Put on your mask, social distancing, right? Get vaccinated, huh? Get your booster shot, get your children protected, right? Do everything that you can to save your life so that you can help save the lives of others. And if nobody told you today that they love you, on behalf of my God, our Creator, we love you. I love you. You love me. We are one big family with a great big hug and a kiss from me to you. Won't you say you love me too? I cannot end this podcast without acknowledging my 4-year-old granddaughter, Alana Brielle Dockery. She is 4 years old today. What a beautiful, beautiful spirit that lies within that little body. On behalf of your grandma, your granddaddy, we love you, Alana, my mukmuk. To God be the glory. If it's God's will that we are reunited tomorrow, I'll be here. Cuckoo for Cocoa Pops. Hope you will be too. Be blessed and be safe. To God be the glory. All right, let's go to my meeting. I told you I go to my meeting.